Why guys act all interested and then disappear? Why do they pull away after seeming so into you and coming on so strong?
Look, I love women.
This is a question that I've gotten a lot in the last 15 years. So let's look at 9 reasons why men pull away or disappear completely, even after coming on strong and showing you all this interest. In some cases, a guy may even make you feel like he's committed, or even like you're the world's greatest, most beautiful princess. And then, poof, he's gone. What happened? It's really puzzling, but once you understand it, it makes total sense. So let's get into the 9 reasons why he disappeared after acting so interested in you. Number 1, the mystery was lost when you returned interest and attention. Now, I know a lot of ladies out there are going to be like, oh, really? Why does showing interest push men away? Well, it's not exactly that you showed interest. It's the way you showed interest. See, a lot of the times, relationships and commitment just feel so natural and so intuitive to us that when we return interest, it comes across as shortcutting the process of building attraction with men. Now, mystery is key to building attraction. Without mystery, there would be no chance for attraction to be built, especially emotional attraction. And so if a guy comes on strong and you respond in a way that indicates that you're super into him and you want to be an item immediately, it's going to push him away. And it's not his fault, and it's not your fault either. The point is, we are only doing, as women, we're only doing what's intuitive to us. But first understand this. The process of building emotional attraction and emotional connection is gradual. So what you need to do is respect the process. Allow attraction to build. Allow there to be some mystery. Now you may be wondering, but like how? How can I build mystery? Well, first things first. You in your natural feminine energy are already mysterious. If you're not out there seeking approval, trying really hard to cling on to a high value man.
Oh my God, don't ever leave me.
Ever.
Cause I'd find you.
You will naturally have mystery. Also, a crucial aspect of mystery is self-acceptance and having high self-esteem. The second most important factor about building emotional attraction is, of course, playfulness. Now, if you've followed my work at all, you would already have heard me say this, and I probably sound like a broken record by now. Broken record. But playfulness is the key to building emotional attraction. And once you've built emotional attraction, it's very hard for a man to just disappear. Now, if you're online dating, it's the same thing. You need to lead with playfulness. How do you do that? With high value banter. Now, if you're not used to being playful, and if you are unsure of how to embody this art of playfulness, especially through banter, which I know a lot of feminine women struggle with, because banter isn't as intuitive to us as it is to other women who may have grown up with brothers, then I recommend you take my husband's high value banter class. You can take that class by going to highvaluebanter.com, or just go to reneeslinks.com and you'll see the link there. See, when we return a man's interest very directly and very obviously,
I love you,
he can start to perceive less value. And that's, of course, of the loss of mystery and the loss of the chance to build emotional attraction. Now, you might be thinking, but don't all healthy couples return each other's interest? Yes, but that's healthy couples. When the relationship is already established, of course you return interest. But these couples already have a healthy base from which to build upon and to work from. So allow yourself to lean into the mystery by being playful. It's not playing games, it's just called respecting the process of building emotional attraction. Okay, reason number 2. The guy is now in a different masculine mode. See, maybe when he first showed you interest, he was in the mood to do so. Perhaps he had space to interact with you, to talk to you, and to flirt with you. But perhaps now it's a different day. Maybe now he's in the mode of taking responsibility, or he's in the mode of kicking goals, kicking ass at work, getting things done. Men tend to compartmentalize everything a lot more than feminine women do. Us as feminine women, We exist in a flow state. Things are different though when you're in masculine mode. All your energy goes to hyper-focusing on the one thing and getting it done. So you as a woman, your baseline of existing in flow is much higher than a man's. Men tend to go from one problem to another. And so if he's hyper-focused on something else, then it's going to feel to you like he's gone cold. But maybe he doesn't have the space right now to chase you as much and to flirt with you. Remember, if he was to chase you and show constant interest, that would always come at the cost of something else. Reason number 3, you weren't the one and only, you were the one of many. Now, if you've known my work at all over the last 15 years, I've been teaching this since the dawn of time. When men meet you, they'll put you in either the one and only basket or the one of many basket. And so when a guy comes on strong or he shows you a lot of interest, and as a lot of guys do, they put a lot of energy into it, we tend to perceive that interest as something deeper than it really is. We tend to think, oh, he must find me really desirable. He must really want me. Maybe he even wants me for a relationship. But that's not always true. Men can show interest in any woman who is the one of many. And the interest that he showed in you is really no different to the interest that he would show in Amanda or Sophie. So here's what I want you to understand. Interest is cheap. We tend to think it's valuable because that's what we do as women. But in actual fact, interest is the cheapest form of attention you can get from a man. So in the future, whenever a guy shows you interest, just remember, your goal should be to be in the one and only basket. If you're happy being in the one and many basket and sharing attention, that's fine. There's no problem with that. But if you truly want this guy's commitment, then you need to make sure that he's going to put you in the one and only basket. That's why I made my program, Becoming His One and Only. In that course, I give you the 5 feminine secrets to have your chosen man beg you to be his one and only forever. You can find out more at reneeslinks.com. See, since interest is so cheap, it's super easy for a guy to just suddenly start showing another woman interest, especially if he's online dating, which a lot of men are. And usually with online dating, for men, it's a numbers game. It is a numbers game, which means it's really easy for him to just go to another woman and show her attention at your expense. If you feel like this is you right now, if you feel like you are clearly the one of many, just know that sometimes it happens. We can't always control the basket that a man puts us in. Yes, we have influence. We have huge influence in the basket that men place us in, but we don't have control. So don't be down on yourself. Don't be disappointed in yourself. It's most likely not your fault at all. It's just how things happened. But don't expect this interest to turn into a commitment if you were in the one of many basket. Now, if you're wondering, is it possible to change that? If you really, really like this guy and he's a high value man to you and you really want to get into a committed relationship with him, you might want to know whether you can change the course of things. Can you go from one of many to one and only? It's very rare, but I would say occasionally it is possible. You just have to try the right things. Okay, reason number 4. You didn't reciprocate his interest enough, so he pulled away. Now, a lot of women receive interest from a guy, but then act like they're Kim Kardashian, like they're too good to return that interest. They want to play hard to get, or they want to be aloof because somehow they think that the only way to be in a relationship is if you don't show interest. But that's completely the opposite. In fact, that's like shooting yourself in the foot. If you want a man to fall in love with you and you want to fall in love with him, then you have to reciprocate interest. Now, I know that we just discussed how showing a lot of interest in a direct and obvious way can push a guy away. But you have to know also that when a high value man shows you interest and you're also interested in him, that there are one of 2 ways that you can return that interest. And only one of these ways is truly going to benefit you in terms of attracting and keeping that high value guy. The first way to show interest is to throw yourself at him, to overcompensate for the lack you feel by really coming on strong and reciprocating that interest. A lot of women do this and they don't realize that it totally kills the emotional attraction. And the second way is to allow and facilitate the process of building emotional attraction. That's the smart way to do it. That's the high value way to do it. Now, if you want some action steps, some actual strategies for how you can show interest and be playful, here's one that I love and that I teach a lot. You say, "Hey, do you know what I love about you?" He says, "What?" And you say, "Absolutely nothing." You say it in a joking tone. You can't forget that. This is why I say playfulness is an art, and the only way you can be effective and good at it is by practicing. You have to get the ball rolling, and you have to care about playfulness enough that you're willing to try. Now, if you want heaps more examples, go to highvaluebanter.com and take that free high value banter class. Or my husband also has a very popular program called Attraction Pebbles. Our program Attraction Pebbles will show you how to throw little attraction pebbles, and it's a dark feminine art. This program teaches you how to use this dark feminine art to keep a high value man's attention through building emotional attraction and making him chase you. Okay, reason number 5 is that he found another woman to chase. He found another woman who interests him and, sorry to say, who might be easier than you are. Remember, as I said, interest is cheap. There's a difference between a man being interested in you and a man being serious about you. You need to know the difference. Now, I've actually made a whole video on the distinction, the critical distinction between a man who is showing interest and a man who is serious about you. You can click on the link in the description to watch that video. Reason number 6, it's kind of an uncomfortable one. He sensed low value behaviors in you and it scared him off. All men, even the lowest value men, the duds out there, are going to be able to sense a woman who is showing up low value. Now, if he's a good man, he will just quietly slip away or just tell you he's not interested. If you have a really low quality man, a low value man, he will try to take advantage of you specifically because you're showing low value behaviors. Now, the first thing I have to say about low value behaviors is that it's not your fault. We as women, we have behaviors that feel really intuitive to us that come across as low value to men. And the same thing can be said of men. There are lots of behaviors that are so intuitive for men, but just come across as so low value for us. The dick pic is the prime example. I mean, do you like guys sending you dick pics? Maybe you do if you're in the prime of ovulation and you haven't been with anyone in a really long time, right? But other than that, most women really don't like being sent dick pics, and it's an instant low value signal. And the same thing happens with us women. So what's an example of low value behavior? One good example is being a massive attention sinkhole. This means that even when a man gives you attention, that there's just no end in sight. You can just keep taking attention from him, and the more he gives it to you, the more you want to take it. Of course, we can talk about how your childhood experiences inspired you to be an attention seeker. And of course, we can talk about how anxiety might make you want to become an attention seeker. But I think at the heart of it, what you need to know is that being an attention seeker is never your fault, because we are raised in a way that we can't control. We have experiences in our lives sometimes that we just can't control. So if you know deep down inside that there's no end to the amount of attention you can seek, it may be time to sit down with yourself and find alternative ways, some better, more quality ways to receive attention. One of those ways is by giving it back to yourself. Maybe when you were younger, your parents ignored you, and they ignored you for so long that you became really needy of attention. And that is only right. Who wouldn't become needy of attention if they were ignored when they were supposed to receive attention? As babies and as children, that is exactly when we need the most attention. There is a guru on parenting who says, I don't remember her name, but she says, every day each child has 2 buckets. They have a love bucket and they have an attention bucket. So if your attention bucket was constantly empty, it makes total sense that you would go out there in the dating world with this subconscious need to just keep taking it. But we have to consider how that comes across to men, because your need for attention isn't really his responsibility. And it's not the responsibility of your friends either, right? Unfortunately, the lack that you have inside is now all your responsibility. Of course, there's the other side of the discussion, which is that feminine energy thrives on attention and praise. So there's that too, but that type of attention seeking is not going to be anything like being a massive attention sinkhole. There are 7 common signs that a woman is low value in the eyes of all men. I have a free PDF report on it. If you want to avoid low value behaviors like the plague, that guide will be super interesting to you. Reason number 7, his insecurities were triggered. Yes, it's totally possible that he showed you a lot of interest and then something happened that triggered his insecurities and made him go cold. Whether this is true or not really depends on the guy who was showing you interest. Every man is different. Every man has had a different upbringing, they have different experience and different life stories. So if you were a man who was quite insecure, then it's very likely that the bar for his insecurities to be triggered is very low. So you may not have even had to have done anything wrong for him to suddenly become insecure and to pull away. And at that point, you may start to feel like he's gone totally cold, like he went from being really, really warm, really into you, to now being almost hostile. And it's a horrible experience because, hey, you had something great going, but then it just disappeared.
Oh, okay.
Did your experiences even actually exist? Well, yes, those experiences actually existed until he felt rejected. Now, we can't forget, men are very sensitive to rejection. Now, I think that as women, we have to understand and appreciate that men in general have to do so much to feel worthy of a woman's attention and love. I mean, some men have experienced so much rejection that they've chosen to live in their mother's basement indefinitely. And of course, you can't forget the MGTOW movement. If you haven't heard of the MGTOW movement, it stands for Men Going Their Own Way, MGTOW. These men have decided that they don't want anything to do with a woman. So it's important to appreciate that there are some men out there who have had such painful experiences and such disappointment in dating women and interacting with women that they become hypersensitive to rejection. And I'm sure you know by now, if you've spent any time on the internet, that there are a lot of men out there who have such low self-esteem and who are so sensitive to a woman's rejection that they have become hostile towards all women. Now, this probably isn't your guy. If he showed you interest enough, then obviously he was trying. He was willing to try with you to some extent. But there may be something that happened, something you said, or something he said that inspired you to say a certain thing that then triggered him. God knows what it could have been. God knows what it could have been. That made him retreat back into his shell. Now, of course, we could sit here and say, well, that's not my fault. That's not my problem. Why are men so weak? And I agree with you somewhat, but we can't control that either. So the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want a man who is so hypersensitive to rejection that he turns cold or even hostile at the slightest trigger of his insecurities? I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, moving on to reason number 8. He was love bombing you. I think it's safe to say that there are lots of toxic, manipulative men out there who will shower you with gifts and make all the big promises and future fake for you just to get you attached to them. And you will feel like the world's most beautiful, most desirable goddess ever. And like he wants you so badly that he's willing to commit right now. But it is as fake as it feels. In other words, if you felt like it wasn't quite real, if you had this inkling feeling in your gut that this is too good to be true, that means it was too good to be true. And here's why. It's because it's not natural. It's not genuine. Love bombing is designed to do one thing, to throw you off scent. What scent? The scent of insincerity. Sincerity in relationships and dating has a gradualness to it. You know, you gradually move into greater investment in each other. It doesn't start off with a guy showering you with gifts and making you grand promises of the future and of the big house he wants to buy you and of how he wants to give you the gift of quitting your job and he'll provide for you forever. I'm sorry to say, that's not how real life works. That's not how real life works. Be very careful. So as I always say, you need to test men. Testing isn't manipulative. Testing is only prudent and smart as a woman. So how can you test? First of all, you have to be willing. You have to be willing to not judge yourself for wanting to test. This is your precious time we're talking about here. This is your future we're talking about here. Of course you should be testing. So allow yourself to test. But you may be wondering, well, how do I test? How do I find out whether he's a sociopath or a toxic manipulator? Here's one way. Use high-value banter. Why does high-value banter work? Because it introduces spontaneity into your interactions with men. This spontaneity is something that is in direct contradiction with a sociopath and a narcissist's game that they typically play with women. And they all have a game, and they use it to reel desperate women in. So your job, if you want to have your own back, is to cut through their tired old game, their predictable pattern, which they use to draw women in. And the only way is to put them on the back foot with spontaneity. So many women in my community have used it, and they've really discovered the amazing benefits of using high value banter and bringing playfulness into the table, because toxic, narcissistic, sociopathic, and even psychopathic men cannot handle the spontaneity and the playfulness. They may have amazing charm and charisma, and this charisma does have value in it because it makes you feel excited, right? But you can't get too carried away with that excitement. So I think the real key here is, other than testing a guy, is to not be that desperate, weak woman who is so needy of attention that you fall into the trap of users, abusers, and toxic narcissists. And I think a good question to ask yourself as you go into the dating world is this: if commitment from a man was so valuable, then why would he offer it up front? Why would he even speak or promise you a future of commitment up front? Why would he do that? If it takes so much energy and resources from a man to commit, which we all know it does, then why would a man offer that up front? I'll let you answer that one for yourself. Okay, reason number 9. This isn't really a reason, it's more of a possibility. And that is, he has avoidant attachment style. Now, here's the thing about avoidant attachment style. In the dating stages, it's really hard, and I would say even impossible, to even figure out that a guy has avoidant attachment style, because avoidants have very well-practiced facades and defense mechanisms by which they use to be a functional person in society, or at least appear that way. You can only truly reveal an avoidant attachment style in a guy after you've attempted to create intimacy with him multiple times. And it's very hard to create the depth of intimacy on date 1 or 2. Sure, you can create intimacy, but of course it's gradual. So you can't just go from 0 to 100 in intimacy. That takes a bit of time, and it takes a bit of built up trust. So is it possible that one of the reasons why guys show interest and then pull away is that they have an avoidant attachment style? Well, yes, in theory it is, but unless you've had many chances and many attempts at creating intimacy with him, it's impossible to truly know whether he actually has an avoidant attachment style. If you really like this guy who's showed you a lot of interest and you want to see if there's anything still there, I do have one phrase that you can text him that will capture his attention, trigger his curiosity, and make him hang on to your every word. To find out what that one phrase is, you can go to the description below and I'll have a link to it there. Now that you know these 9 reasons, which one of these do you think apply to your situation? Let me know below. And remember, just because a guy is interested in you doesn't mean he is serious about you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Wait, before you go, did you know that there are 8 feminine archetypes that men fall for? Find out which one you are and how they affect the men you attract in our brand new quiz. Click the link on the screen to learn more.